Now here's an interesting one, Jet Grind Radio for the Game Boy Advance. Now for those of you who had Dreamcast, you probably remember Jet Grind Radio. Of course, it also came out later on the Xbox called Jet Set Radio Future, which was a little different. But this one's more like the original game. In the original game, you had to go around the city and basically do moves to tag buildings, and then the cops would chase you. The big important thing about Jet Grind Radio was the music soundtrack. It was all this kind of really cool electronica, hip-hop kind of thing, and they have that in this version. So the music is actually really cutting edge, and they have the DJ guy, and he's all in 3D. Now, one of the problems I had with this game is that when you first pop it in, they force you to do the training mode, and that takes about, 10 minutes just to do that. You can't click through it, you have to do it. The biggest complaint I have is the actual controls itself. It's kind of those controls where if you keep pressing up, the guy will do like circles and stuff, so it's really kind of hard to get the whole thing going. And if you remember, Jet Grind Radio had the whole like 2D cartoony look to it, which this one kind of does, but obviously it's very hard to pull off that style. Some of the other problems is the levels just end, so like when you get to the end of a level, it's like black space. They could have put up fences or something, I don't know. Hey, you can link it up and you can play people head to head, which is also cool, but overall, I'm going to give it a 6.
We're back, and we're going to talk about Jak II for the PlayStation 2. This one's from Naughty Dog and Sony. Last time, the focus was on the duo, right, and Jak kind of got slighted a little bit because he never said anything, and we didn't really get to know who this character was. The game is set 500 years in the future from the previous adventure, and it's a very dark environment, this futuristic city that the cast finds themselves in. It's not just an action-adventure platformer style game anymore. They've actually borrowed from Grand Theft Auto 3, and there's carjacking in Jak II, which is just insane.
When you first put the game in, your first mission is to kind of like escape from this prison. So, when you first put the game in, you're like, oh, okay, it's just another typical 3D running around platform game. Then when you actually escape from the prison and go into this gigantic, huge city, then you start to realize exactly what this game is all about.
Everyone in this section is hereby under arrest for suspicion of harboring underground fugitives. Surrender and die.
Excuse me, sir. Don't you mean surrender or die?
You whip around this crowded city, and there's aliens scurrying out of the way, and there's cops chasing you, and they're shooting you, and stuff like that. If you shoot a cop, they all converge. There's like this level where you're basically just hovering over the ground, and people are diving out of the way and stuff, and then you can zoom up, and there's a bunch of zoomers flying at that level too, so now you're dodging traffic and people and getting shot at on all these different levels, and there's these ramps and side circuits.
I think one of the more fun things is to get on those airboard things, like Back to the Future, you got on the air hoverboard thing, and that's a lot of fun. Very easy to control as well.
Another great thing too in the game is the weapons and the weapon effects. Not only do you have all of that, but you have this massive platform action-adventure gameplay stuff as well.
I like the interactive soundtrack and music in the game. They've done a really excellent job of, taking the music and making it adaptive audio, as they call it, the new buzzword in interactive audio. One thing that Naughty Dog has always done right is dialogue recording and script writing. The voiceovers are all top quality, so you really get a sense of good storyline with these guys, and some really great humor as well.
I am Pecker. Yes, I know. My mother, she was very vindictive.
Naughty Dog blew me away with the graphics in this game, man. Some of the best stuff I've ever seen on the PlayStation 2. All of the cut sequences, the characters look like they popped out of like a Shrek movie or something like that. An incredible achievement. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I love this game.
I should just start giving games 2 points less than whatever you give it.
All right.
I give this an 8? No. This game deserves better than an 8. This game's a 9.
On the positive side, this game has incredible graphics, sound effects, and voiceover. The Grand Theft Auto carjacking is much more than just a gimmick. It's very fun. And the best thing about this game is just the sheer variety in the gameplay. This thing is unbelievable.
Now, there's nothing really too negative about the game, but if you're not into the whole Jak and Daxter cartoony look, you may not find this to be a fulfilling experience. Let's go fishing for hardware this week. What hardware do I have down my pants this week? Give it a pull.
Let's find out what hardware we've got down Tommy's pants this week.
Watch what you do there.
Stuck. Oh.
There
it is.
It's the Madcatz.
You can hold it. It's the Madcatz Retrocon, and this controller is actually based on the old Nintendo NES Square Hurt Your Fingers controller. And I don't know why they brought it out again. I don't know about using the shoulder buttons though. They've got them all sort of schmunched in there together, so there's no like levels at all here, so it's all on one plane. So trying to find R1 and R2, good luck.
The other thing too is that these are so thin and kind of plasticky.
Right.
Like, you know, the way some people play games, I mean, these are going to last about 2 seconds, I think, before, you know, and you're going to just pop that right off.
Well, I kind of think that if you have like those old sort of classic collections, like the Midway collection where you can play the classic arcade games, this style of control will actually work quite well.
I never liked this controller 15 years ago. I certainly don't like it now.
So it's banished back into your pants.
Banished back into the pants with you.
I actually kind of would recommend the controller as a collector, but other than that, I'd say it's more of a gimmick. On the positive side, this controller is a throwback to some classic gaming. It has all of the buttons and functionality of a regular PlayStation 2 controller, and as a bonus, it's small enough that you could travel with it fairly easily. You could even carry it in your pants.
On the negative side, the analog sticks seem very flimsy, like you could break them with one quick movement. It takes a bit of time to get used to the shoulder buttons. But most of all, the 8-bit NES controller went down in history as one of the worst of all time. I don't know why you'd want it 15 years later.
Stick around, we're coming right back with a look at Soul Calibur 2.